So David must install fencing around a lot that's shaped like a right triangle. So I drew a right triangle. The side of the lot that runs east and west is 200 feet long. So this will be 200. That runs east and west. The side that runs north and south from here to here is 125. So calculate how many feet of fencing he will need to surround the entire lot. So I know the answer is at least 325 because this is basically asking for a perimeter. So I need to find the length of this side. We will call this hypotenuse since this is across from 90 degrees. This means I could use the formula that says a squared plus b squared is c squared. So we'll let this be a, we'll let this be b, and we'll let that be c. And that's what we're trying to find. So when I set this up, I would have 125 squared plus 200 squared equals c squared. Now when I punch 125 squared in my calculator, and I add on 200 squared, I get 55,625. And that equals c squared. To undo c squared, I take the square root. So I type in the square root of 55625, and I get 235.9. So c is 235.9. So I just found that the hypotenuse is 235.9. So how many feet of fencing would I need? I would take, to find my perimeter, I would take 125 plus 200 plus 235.9. So that would be 125 plus 200 plus 235.9, 560.9. So I would need 560.9 feet of fencing. Find the perimeter of the triangle below. We have what's called a right triangle. So we know that this is a leg, we'll call that A. We know this is a leg, we'll call that B. And we need to find the hypotenuse, because to find the perimeter, you add around the outside of the shape. So we're going to use the formula that says a squared plus b squared equals c squared. That's called the Pythagorean Theorem. So what is A? A is 40. What is B? B is 9. And we're trying to find C. If I type in my calculator 40 squared plus 9 squared, I get 1681. That's equal to C squared. Take the square root of 1681, and I get 41. So I just found that the hypotenuse is 41. So then the perimeter would equal 40 plus 41 plus 9, which would be 90. So the perimeter is 90. The blades of a ceiling fan are both congruent and perpendicular. The word congruent means they're equal. Perpendicular means that they make a 90-degree angle. And they also tell us the distance. So if you think about this as a triangle, and we're going to go from here to here, and then from there to there. And they tell us the distance between the blade tips is 10. So this is 10 feet. And they also tell us that this is a right triangle. So we have a right triangle, and I know there's a little space in there, so this won't be an exact answer. But we have a right triangle. We know the hypotenuse is 10, And because the blades are congruent, we also know that this is 45 degrees. So now that we know that that's 45 degrees, we should know that to go from hypotenuse to a leg, you take that number, divide it by square root of 2, and we can't write down the answer as 10 divided by square root of 2. You rationalize. So what you're going to do is you're going to multiply by square root of 2 over square root of 2. Now doing the math, I get 10 times square root of 2. So I did 10 times square root of 2. Now I'll do square root of 2 times square root of 2. That's just 2. And then those two reduce to make 5. So I get 5 square root of 2. So the length of each blade is 5 square root of 2. In this problem, we have a table, and it says that the one leg is 15, another leg is 7.5, and they measured from one end to the other and they got 17. And she wants to know, is the table perfectly rectangular? In other words, is this 90 degrees? So the way we could determine if this is 90 degrees is if, and I'll go ahead and label this as 15. Now, if a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared, then it is perfectly rectangular. So if a squared plus b squared equals c squared, then this is a right triangle. So let's check. What is 15 squared plus 7.5 squared? We're going to see what that is. And then we're also going to see what is 17 squared. So when I punch 15 squared plus 7.5 squared in my calculator, I get 281.25. When I punch 17 squared in my calculator, I get 289. Because those numbers are not the same, I would say no. The table is not perfectly rectangular. If you know how to spell. Problem, they say find the length of x. So when I'm looking at this, and where my brain goes is if I could just find the length from here to here, and to find that length, I know that if this is 12, and that's 5, you take away 12 minus 5, that'd be 7. So this is 7 from here to here. And then, if I could find the length from here to here, which I can because the whole thing is 20, and this part is 5, so that would save 15. And we also know that because you went straight up and down and left to right, that this is a right triangle. So now I could plug into Pythagorean Theorem that says that if you take a squared plus b squared, you get c squared. And so when I label the parts of my triangle, I'm going to label this as a, that is b, and the hypotenuse is always c. So a would be 7 squared, b is 15, and we're trying to find the hypotenuse. If you type in your calculator 7 squared plus 15 squared, you get 274. And then you take the square root of 274, and you get 16.6. Now on the district test, you will not have to you'll have to rationalize, but you will not have to reduce radicals. So I got x is 16.6.